And it's Gordo here from Gordo's Games, and we're back for some more Digimon TCG this evening. So we are back for an EX4 tier list, a little bit late in doing so, but with it on the horizon, we thought we'd get into it. So you're going to be joined by myself and Holy Kyuuchi, goes by various different names, Riley, all of the above. You can pick one for him, but he'll be here to assist me on those decks that I don't know jack about. I'll be honest, there is a few. So he's going to cover those fillers for me. But if you do like the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you know when this content goes live for you. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, Holy, so welcome. Thanks for joining me this evening for this tier list.
Hello.
So basically we're going to be going over EX4. Now I know there's not a mass amount of decks coming into this set because it's I guess we can call it an anniversary set or a filler set or whatever you want to call it, but there's only a minimal decks that come out. Most of it is really just support for decks, right?
Yeah, there's like 3 new strategies that actually come out of it, and the rest of it's just support.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So we'll go over a few of them. Some will be older decks, but obviously there has been restrictions and ban lists in place, so yeah, we'll get an idea of where they fit into things. Some of the cards, there may be a few overlaps. We may just skip those as we go along. For instance, ShineGreymon and ShineGreymon Rune Mode are basically one and the same. I guess you could say ShineGreymon Rune Mode goes into Bielstar next set because it is a nice little support board wipe for that as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start from top left. Let me just go ahead and share this for you. Actually, I'll just go through the cards and we can do it that way, Holy. Actually, I'll just tell you the cards. So Phoenixmon. We have 4 tiers we're going by. So tier 1 is basically the top decks. The ones you're going to see most likely in every single event. They're going to do well consistently. They're not undefeatable. It's not a tier 0. I don't believe there's a tier 0 deck at this point still, and I'm going to stand by that. There has been decks close to it, but yeah, tier 1 is up there. Tier 2 is like you'll see them, but not as often. They kind of, I guess you call them like gatekeepers. They keep certain decks out of the meta to some extent. And then we have Rogue, which is going to be those crazy loyalists who play decks that can do well but aren't represented enough to say that they sit there in tier 1 and 2. And then meme is for, yeah, just the memes, people, decks that just have no bearings on the game. They're just there as cards that have been printed. Unfortunately, they don't know enough. So first on our list, Holy, is Phoenixmon. Now, I don't think there's any support in EX4 for it. You get support in BT13, or was it BT?
Yeah, BT13 gives a little bit of support with like Garudamon. We a lot of the.
So at the moment, I still think it sits at meme tier. I really like the deck. I really enjoy the deck. I think it's great to play, but it holds no real relevance in the meta at this point. Not even a rogue stand-in for me.
Yeah, fair. With no new support, you can't. It just doesn't really much plays with like seeing up against stuff like hunters and beetles.
Yeah, especially the deck.
Nerfed beetles.
Yeah, especially with when things like hunters are still within the meta, and this is the deck that wants to play out tamers repeatedly but doesn't excel in closing out the game quickly. It just feels like it's going to get slapped every single time. So unfortunately, it's our first to go into the meme tier. I feel like this next one's going to be in there as well, and I'm cursed it will be a bit sad to hear. It is Etamon, Sukamon. Now, I know there's been announcements for support for it, right? Or there's been support in Sukamon in general. I don't know if it's for this deck, but there has been. I don't know. It wasn't Platinum Sukamon. It was King Sukamon, wasn't it?
There was King and there's also Platinum.
Okay, so it was both. So this deck itself.
That's like BT14.
Yeah, that's a while off. So unfortunately, it's got no new support. It's not in a position where it's really changed its standing. Don't get me wrong. I think the deck is particularly good against tower decks. I think it has got an interesting match to some of those decks that rely on just those single stacks.
We could just like it's a deck that could run like Shadow Serafi if it really wants to.
That's true. That is, and that's like the new top end to set control as well.
Yeah, it's just Shadow Serafi is just a ridiculously strong.
What does he do? Just out of curiosity, because I have not yet to read the card.
During your opponent's turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, and then on deletion, recover one, and then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 4,000 for every card in your security stack.
That's a dumb card. I mean, that would actually be pretty nice in that deck, actually, as a side mega to Etamon.
Yeah, it's just a really good top end for like any decks that sit in black and yellow. Like more security control based, or like control based.
I'm almost tempted. I mean, I don't think there's enough tower decks to justify it, so I am going to just go meme, but slightly higher than the Phoenix. If there was more tower decks in the meta, I feel like it would be fine, but there are still things like Cross Hearts, Hunter, Red Hybrids. You know, there's just too many low to the ground things that will just run to steamroll it. Is the problem I see with it. So I still think it falls in meme, but the Seraphimon could be a nice tech. Who knows? If Curse does a bit of testing, you can let us know how he gets on with that one. Okay, so this next one's a controversial pick. Now it's Black War Grey X. Now obviously there's been numerous restrictions, obviously the ban list and things like that, since obviously the BT12. We had the hit to Impmon, we had the hit to Blossom, yeah, who else was it? Grand Quagga, Melga's stuff. So I feel like the meta itself has changed slightly, and with BL's being less pace than it was before, it's still a strong deck, but having that little less pace to be able to close out games without in an instant, I feel like this deck actually takes a stronger point in the meta. To the point I do think it goes back to being tier 1. But I'm biased, so hold on, I'm going to ask your opinion as well, because I'm completely biased here.
Personally, I'd put like Black War Grey, and Black War Grey is definitely like tier 1.5. Like Hunter still has a really easy out to it. Just tucking it under the sources, and then some of the newer decks can just kind of like something like Alt. If you get to it, like Alt S doesn't. Yeah, Omni can just kind of like return it to the bottom of the deck. I know it has protection, but at the end of the day, it's still like a 15k dude that you have to try and get rid of, which I'm pretty sure gets blocked, I think.
Okay, so so it's still up there. Would you? So I would go.
I wouldn't deny it's like a good deck or anything, but like tier 1 when like on BLs can still like somewhat consistently do stuff.
Yeah, no, agreed. No, BL still can go off.
It just lost the thing that just turbos it into being nuts.
Yeah, it goes from being a turn 2 to 3 to like a turn 4 to 5.
Yeah.
So it's still. I mean, realistically, we say that, but Hunters is actually my best matchup. And it sounds stupid, but consistently, I mean, I played a couple earlier on, and Hades Force eats that alive. The BT at Black War Grey. As long as I see one of those two cards, I consistently win that matchup. I'm not getting wrong. You can break, and obviously it can cause issues in that, but I feel like Hunters isn't as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, I could be just that guy, because I don't even restrict myself from playing Tamers. You know, like most people will sit there and go, I won't play a Tamer with this matchup because he's playing Hunters. Me, immediately turn 1, plays 1 to 2 Tamers. No remorse for what's about to happen to him. But I agree on the, I don't know what's with the new Omnimon stuff, and obviously ShineGreym's got some more buffs to it, so yeah, I guess the matchups there are going to be interesting. DP reduction being a thing, I guess the Metal Grey X combo comes back into it, the BT11 Metal Grey X, to stop the DP reduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a thing. So I guess we'll go to, because we're only working on tier 1 and 2, I guess we'll go lower end of tier 1 for now. I think we can agree on. Until that we see how it all develops, because we know how we've seen it based on JP's meta and that, but now ours, you know, we know how ours always tends to differ.
Well in JP, and it's just but like that was obviously
with full capacity. But then ShineGreymon had full capacity with the Greymon X as well, which is just a lot to deal with. So going on from Black War Grey X, we have Minerva. Or Merva. Yeah, Merva. Tier 2.
I'm gonna be honest, I forgot Merva was deck.
I mean, I still think Merva is a strong deck. I obviously personally, I've had people. So this was a controversial thing, because I've had people turn around to me and say that they should ban Blinding Ray and Gravity Crush. And it confuses me. Like, I know you get value out of those cards and you can extend your memory count, but if they're in security, they're useless cards. They're not notably ban-worthy.
Most of the time, the turn that you're using Gravity Ray or Blinding Crush, it doesn't matter about the downside because the game is most of the time over.
Well, this is it, I completely get that to a point, but you can mess yourself up because you might, let's say, you hit back security or something like that. But I think Blinding Ray and Gravity Crush both have a big enough, obviously, backlash to justify the cards, but not banning them by any means. I think that's a little bit too extreme.
Yeah.
I mean,
was just kind of had like a game where like nothing like seems inherently bannable except for like 2 cards I can think of. One of them's already banned, so.
Yeah, exactly that. MDF, rest in peace. So, I'm saying tier 2. Tier 2 or Rogue for you, because you completely forgot the deck was a thing, so.
I've already said like Rogue.
Rogue, okay. I'm going to go with you on this one. I do think
I haven't played for a while, and like the times I have played, I've not seen this thing.
I mean, I've seen a few matchups where I played, done some testing into the deck can pop off, like you said. If it's that gets to that point, usually they have Blinding Ray and Gravity Crush, and they're going for game at that point. But I do think sometimes they've got a weak security, and if they don't see some of the pieces, they just fall behind overall. Oh, this is still a deck. Galacticmon. Rogue?
I mean, sure.
I mean, it's
a diverse protection.
It has a diverse protection, but the reason I say Rogue is because it's not heavily played in any sort of capacity.
No, it really isn't.
Do we think it will see more play in EX4 overall to give me justification to say tier 2?
Probably not.
I think this was one of those really sad decks. I mean, I feel like it had, with Ultimate Cup, it's actually a very playable deck.
Yeah, because it's a deck that will occasionally just do well because people don't know what the cards do.
Oh yeah,
they get surprised by it. I think that was like the one thing that it taught with.
I lost a matchup to this very deck because I had no clue what some of the cards did. It was like, oh okay, I'm screwed. Because it kept popping my tamers with, I think was it Snatchmon or Destromon? Destromon. Yeah, one of the two. And I was just like, okay, I was playing Red Hybrid at the time. I was like, oh, fantastic. Yep, sure, I've lost that one. Alright, we'll go Rogue. High Rogue. Potential tier 2. I'd be interested to see if he does pop up. I feel like it is made for an Ultimate Cup deck more than anything. I guess there's more outs in normal standard format. Red Hybrids. So, realistically, this deck has done really well going into BT12. There's been tops across in NA. There's a good few top cuts for this deck. There's a top on our latest, was it regionals? Down in, yeah, there's a top there for it, and a good few numbers in the Ultimate Cup top side of it as well. So overall, it's performing very well. How does that transfer to EX4 though? I still think it's a tier 1 deck because it's low to the ground, quick style.
Yeah, low to the ground quick. It's kind of like the deal of just like EX4 doesn't add too much, but there is some like impactful inclusions, and I don't think the impactful inclusions that EX4 makes really does anything to hybrid.
No, I agree with that. Alright, we're going to tier 1.
Like maybe ShineGreymon Ruin Mode, because it just kind of like locks you out of the turn with doing anything hybrids unless it's exactly Emperor.
Yeah, very true, very true. Gallantmon. Tier 2 Rogue. Every time I look at this deck in every single set, it just gets sadder and sadder. I mean, you do get the rush actually EX04, don't we? Is it this one or is it BT13? I forget.
Sorry, BT13 is the
BT13. Okay.
The big rush Gallantmon.
So I'm gonna go tier 2 for Gallant. That's my idea for it. I mean, the deck has a win con. It's a difficult win con to get to, and it can catch some decks off guard. Obviously, it does have the facility of raid now as a feature, which is nice for a bit more control.
Yeah, a couple of other cards that it gets is also not too bad.
Yeah, I think it's one of those decks that consistently gets support, but I think its support is too widely variety. You know, they go through the whole burn thing for a bit and then mill out your opponent, and then now they have the raid and going off a tamer and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, can you just pick one direction, please? Just make it do one thing and make it do it well. Like they did with BL's. BL's mills, it gets effects from the mills. It goes to BL's X. BL's X trashes security. Beelzemon does what Gallimore wants to do, but better.
Yeah.
That's really sad. Seems how, you know, the whole thing of Beelzebub and Gallimore. But we agree for tier 2 there.
Yeah.
Yep. All Force. As this is based on normal format, I say tier 2. Ultimate Cup, I say it's definitely tier 1 format, because it's literally that, it's made for that one. But I feel like it just gets bodied by things that are a little bit quicker than it. So things like Red Hybrids, for instance, Black War Grey X absolutely abuses it. You said the new Omni deck, you get blockers in it, so a big 15k blocker, that's another problem for it to deal with.
Yeah.
You got, what else have you got? You got the Cherubimon, you got the Alliance deck. I don't know if that does well into it or not, but I think like there's too many problems for All Force to deal with to make it tier 1.
Yeah, it's kind of like
I'd like to say
the All Force is like weird. It's a weird kind of deck.
I mean,
like it has potential to like to do stuff.
yeah, I mean, it can definitely, if it high rolls, it kind of reminds me of, not completely like Jesmond, but to the same standard as Jesmond, where if you high roll, you aren't beating All Force. If you get those pieces in the right time, because obviously you don't need to set up like multiple mass tamers, you just need to see a succession of tamers once you get to your point. So arena into arena into arena into whatever, and just keep swinging. And if you do that, there's not a lot your opponent can do. So in those scenarios, yeah, the deck can pop off, but the problem is because you play so many tamers, it has the problem where it can brick quite a lot, or you don't see the tamers at the right time, or you just see tamers. So yeah, it's definitely one of those decks that can take events, no question, but I don't think it can do it consistently. This next deck I have absolutely no input on in the slightest. I haven't played the deck. I've played against the deck twice, and every time I've ran through it because I just feel like it's missing so many pieces. Imperial Jamon. I'm pretty sure it's an Imperial Jamon. Yeah, it is an Imperial Jamon. However, you can go on this one. I don't want to be harsh to my good friend Dan Vang, but you know, I think it's down in Rogue.
Too much Imperial Drawn, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I played against like one time, and I think I was like it wasn't even. Oh, like, the most recent time I played it was like BT11. So I don't even know any of the new stuff of what it does.
So as far
I can't exactly give much of an input.
So as far as my understanding of the new stuff, Matt, there is things to try and retain turn or do things during opponent's turn, like blitz and stuff like that. I think something like blitz, like if you can go into the Dino B via DNA Digivolving, you've got the new XV and Sting ones that give you memory back when you DNA Digivolve, and then Dino B I think pins something and then you can swing into it. Pyojimon does something else, I don't ever know because nobody ever uses that one. They just use the old one because it's better. But yeah, it's just, I think it's too combo-y now, because you need the Davis to go up from the Imperial into the next part, and I just think it's the inconsistency of the deck is just part where it puts me to a rogue.
Yeah.
No questions there. This one you can go off on. ShineGrey.
Hey, my boy.
So EX4, not BT13, because we know as soon as we go BT13, it goes tier 1. No questions.
ShineGreymon in EX4 gets a lot of the pieces that it was definitely missing. One of the big issues of ShineGreymon at the moment is card draw. It has like nothing. There's like no card draw other than like mem boost. That problem gets like circumvented with the new Agumon and the new GeoGreymon having whenever you suspend a payment draw card.
Which is going to happen quite a lot.
Yeah. Agumon and Greymon, GeoGreymon also have very nice circumventions with start of turn gain memory, because a lot of the time with the GeoGreymon stuff, you want to try to be playing it on board.
Yes, I have seen those. If they play similar to like the green stuff with the Palmons and Vegimons and that, or it is as long as they're on board by start of turn, you gain a memory or whatnot.
You gain more memory if you have a red or yellow tamer in play. The Rise Greymon that it gets from this set isn't the best.
See, I was looking at that and I did think I wasn't sure how you'd run into it, because obviously the old one lets you put the markers back in security, which is very, very good.
You very much always want to run like the older one and then probably like Rise Greymon. If we had like a meta that was a lot more like very, very go wide strategies, then this Rise Greymon would do great. But like at the moment, it's at the point where it's still kind of like all like go tall kind of decks rather than go. There's a lot more like go tall than go wide, so minus 4k to the board doesn't exactly do all too much.
Yeah.
Especially if you're about to do like minus 15 with a shine anyways.
No, I agree on that one. So the question there, I'm going to let you pick this. I'm not going to dispute it. Tier 1 or 2?
Tier 2.
Tier 2, okay.
It's not good. I'll be perfectly honest, it's not good enough at the moment to be tier 1.
Alright, I'm going to put the rune mode there. So I'm going to put it high tier 2, because it's missing pieces, but I still think the deck's good.
As soon as we get into the versus Royal Knight with stuff like the burst mode, that's when shine. It's where it truly shines.
Next on the list we have Wargrey. I still think Wargrey OTK. Well, I'm gonna call this the Wargrey Omnimon version. It doesn't play into obviously the black Wargrey. There's things on the side of it, but it'd be like Wargrey X Omni. I definitely think it'll be a tier 1 deck still, because overall just has a lot of control, a lot of pressure. You can basically kill something in one turn with it as well, which is, you know, a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
I don't think it doesn't get any more support going into the set, but overall I still think it can deal with most things in a good fashion. Because if there are decks like, for example, the Omni deck with bigger blockers and that, the DP on this thing is always insane. You sit there like a 21k blocker on your opponent's turn, and you're swinging for like 24 on your turn, so it's obscene. So I don't think it's up there as a tier 1 deck. Still got into EX4.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Chaos X Anti. Now this is one of those controversial decks, which is, realistically, this deck is stupidly strong and would do so well if it wasn't so inconsistent. And that is its biggest downfall, because its ratios are so skewed and bricky. It beats itself half the time.
Yeah.
I think Ultimate Cup, I'll go in tier 1. I think it's one of those because there's so little outs to it. It's a problem for anybody to deal with. Normal meta, either tier 2 or Rogue.
Probably say Rogue.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's just too inconsistent to be reliable to take into an event and say I know I'm going to do well with this deck, because it literally comes down to the RNG of how your hands fall. The mulligan does help it, but yeah, not. I don't think enough in some circumstances. Okay, this one's for you, Hunters.
Hunters went fairly unfazed, really. I'm pretty sure that was just Dream X, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was legit. So
yeah, Hunters goes pretty unfazed. It's still a really good deck.
I mean, the deck overall performed to a good standard, but I didn't see as many like outright tops. I don't recall seeing a top 4 Hunters. I could be mistaken.
Maybe.
I'm trying to think now, but no, I don't recall seeing top with Hunters. I've seen top cuts with Hunters, but not actual top finish.
I can look that up quickly.
Well, whilst you do that, I'm going to go ahead and put this into tier 1, because that's where we're going to end up with that one, right? Like I say, it's the untouched. It's a strong deck. It does well into any deck that run tamers, because it just automatically outs the stack.
It got top 4 in UKG regionals.
Okay, so, yeah, so
and took up the most in top 16.
Yeah, so it's had a good amount of top cuts and that, so it just hasn't had the first place finish, that's fine. Representation I'd say justifies it. It's tier 1, easy enough. Definitely is strong and definitely has a good win con.
Yeah.
Biel's X, I think it's still up there. It's still a deck you have to deal with, and obviously people that are playing it are going to be. You're going to see a lot of people jump off of the Bielsmon now because it's been hit, and you'll see the more loyalists which who've played it and tested it a lot more and generally better at piloting the decks now. I think. So still think it's tier 1, but I think you'll see a higher caliber of players play this deck more so. And anybody that just kind of hops from meta decks to meta decks will, say bye to it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I know you haven't really played much into the BLX side of things, and you've played against it a lot.
Like 4 people at my locals play BL, so I played against it.
Yeah, it's a popular deck. It's a fan favorite, and I still think you're going to get a lot of loyalists on it. I just don't, those for those that go to events and just pick a deck based on what's topping and what's doing well. As soon as they see the restrictions list, I think they'll automatically just deterred from playing into it more so than anything. Next on the list, so leave these two out here. Security control tax. Is that still even a deck at this point? I mean, it's still playable deck, but do we think it's even contention for doing well?
Shadow Seraphimon and Heaven's Judgment probably bring it some kind of relevancy back.
Okay. What do they do?
So Black Seraphim we talked about is the when a security is removed, you digivolve 1.
Oh yeah, yep.
On your opponent's turn. Heaven's Judgment. If you control a green tamer Digimon, you may use it. It's a yellow 7-cost option, but you can use it if you're in green as well.
Okay.
Activate the following effect below, then for each colour among Digimon you have in play, activate the effect below an additional time, which is give us something minus 6k.
Yeah, it's not bad, Cup. Not bad at all.
Yeah, so if you have like 3 Digimon, if you have essentially like a Geo Grey and like an Omnimon's War defeat, you get to do minus 18k to the board. Glove.
Oh, okay. So
Insecurity does minus 12.
Well, that's certainly nice little addition to security control. But do we really think the tax version is going to take a forefront of it? If anything, it's most likely going to be Venus and the new Seraphi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, playing to the yellow side, like yellow hybrids kind of thing.
Playing Venus control.
Yeah, so I think tax will go into rogue, low rogue, because I don't think we'll see much of it, but it's a deck that can work.
There was a few things on the list that popped in Japan, but nothing like all too major.
Let's go for a few of these. So Magnum on Armor Rush. No real support, nothing new for it in this set, is there? It's BT 13 or 14 to get the armor stuff.
13.
13.
You get a new Magnum on at 13.
I mean, I'm thinking tier 2 for Armor Rush because it still is a strong deck because of the fact that it has a very specific win con. It just keeps poking away. Armor Purge helps it from things that are able to swing into things twice. Like for instance, BT8 Black Wargrey, it gets around the whole trigger for the restand and stuff like that. And you generally have to spend a lot more time just clearing things off the board. And Fire Rocket, use a Fire Rocket at the right time, do a few additional checks, and you can close out a game quick enough. It's just a little bit less of a consistent win style than what Red Hybrids would be, I'd say. It wants to do kind of the same thing where you want to do multiple checks with like a Fire Rocket, but it doesn't do it as well. That, people, is signs of agreement, because Holy does not play Armor Rush. Holy loves Shaku. That's it.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna leave Alphamon off here because that's gonna come to fruition in the next few sets. So all you want on that, I think people will still play it. I think it's played to the point of Rogue because there's not enough people playing it to say it's notable. Even though it is still a strong deck when it wants to, it obviously it loses the onboard protection. That was the big hit to it. So I'm gonna throw that in Rogue there, so we can move along. Let's go to some of the new decks. Alliance.
It was mainly about old decks.
Yeah, so at the moment this list is completely skewed here. I want to go to Alliance.
Yeah, Alliance is the new keyword for EX4, which is when this Digimon attacks by suspending another Digimon in play, gain its DP and gain security attack +1 for the attack.
Okay, and from what you told me earlier, this is quite often paired with Mother D Reaper because you can suspend it, get security attack +1, and they've got to still, for them to clear off that stack, they've got to swing over a 15k body, which isn't always very easy.
Yeah, Mother D Reaper is like an option that you can play in the stack, as well as like a lot of the all the rookie level 3s that you run in the deck. Or like the main ones like Terriermon and Lotmon have an inheritable that lets you evolve your level 4s into the level 5 as soon when you swing with Alliance.
Okay. Where do we think it sits going into this meta then? You know more than I do about this deck. I when you said Alliance, I had no clue what you were talking about. So, 1-2 rogue or meme.
I've already said things like fairly rogue. I feel like you probably would see it. The deck is also like similar to like D Reaper and that. This deck is incredibly cheap.
Okay, so it's your cheap deck for the set. Pick it up for pennies, and you'll probably see some people play it.
There's one card that is SR and you don't even use it, which is the Black Mega Gargamon. Like your top end is Cherubimon and well, both the Cherubis, they're Fighting Virtue.
Okay.
And then if you want to be spicy, play ShineGreymon Rune mode because you can hidden potential discover it.
The combos, people, you heard it here first. There's your combos. Trigon and DX4. All right, we'll put that in rogue then for the time being. I'm interested to see how that gets on. I said I had no clue before our conversation about it, so I feel like I'm gonna get blindsided by that deck so many times until then. I think this is another one for this is what's probably meme Ravemon. I think that one gets support going forward, but there's very minimal support in this set for it. It's more like the framework is there, but not the actual deck.
Yeah, Ravemon is very like me. There's like some cool stuff that you can do with it, but again, it's just the entire like idea of Ravemon is building up like a stack, building up a big Ravemon stack, and then once Ravemon swings, it gets deleted. Yeah, you delete itself, and then do some hand shenanigans.
Okay, so yeah, definitely sounds like until small support.
A lot of people were like playing with it with stuff like Tsukaimon, Davidramon, and Longboy, essentially just to try and like gain memory once this big stack has been killed off, and then try to build up another one so you can do it.
Things like I'm assuming Back for Revenge and stuff like that.
Ravemon technically does Back for Revenge itself.
Yeah, true.
Because it plays itself at the end of your opponent's turn.
Okay, so yeah, so basically it's Back for Revenge and steroids now, but it'd be interesting to see what the support gives it going into the future sets. But for now, meme level deck, playable but not worthwhile.
Yeah, it's definitely a meme at the moment.
Alrighty. Last few got off the new set then. Set control. So Seraphimon, his deck. How do we think it brings back set control in any sort of capacity?
Brought back set control in the JP meta, so I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Like it's just kind of like a good card that is like answer at all. You're not doing too much this game.
And there is, obviously we do have the restrictions now to things like Grand Quagga and Melga and that, so there is less OTK decks to a point. So those battle of attrition decks, things like set control may see their comeback just because there's less decks that just keep punching their security and don't give them time to recover.
Yeah, I mean, like Shadow Seraphi is kind of like that card that does let them recover, just because it's like if they have this one stack that they're just going like all out with, it's just like cool first check DT Devolver. Second check DT Devolver. Because it's not a once per turn.
Okay, that's pretty nice. Tier 2?
Yeah, it did.
Tier 2, alright. Okay.
It just adds a lot.
Yeah, it does seem to be a very good card. I do quite like the artwork for the card, I'm gonna say. It does look nice. A more sinister looking Seraphi. So, last two of the new decks. Now, these are both ones that I'm interested in playing. I know a little bit about, and we'll be testing more over the next coming weeks. So you can offer me up some input here. So we'll start with the Omnimon deck. Now, obviously, this deck for me is just the whole principle of DNA digivolving into an Omnimon, as you should do the whole time. I like the idea of bringing BlitzGreymon and Greymon into it. The whole deck kind of synergizes around playing out another body for cheap and gaining memory back and stuff like that, or drawing cards, if I remember correctly, because you want to be able to establish 2 stacks very, very easily.
Yeah, the option cards is like the main way that you get for doing.
Is it overall from your knowledge from JP side of things? Is it a deck that performed to any sort of standard, or is it an unfinished deck?
I remember like seeing it like here and there occasionally, a lot more than like some of the other like decks that you wouldn't expect, but like other rando stuff like Galgamon and stuff. I'd definitely say it's like somewhat playable.
Somewhat playable. Rogue or tier 2 then, Holy?
I'd probably say like Rogue is a better place for it.
That makes me so sad, but I love it at the same time because it's Rogue. Now Gaimon. I feel Gaimon is... I would want it to be a decent deck, but I know from reading into its things, I know it's not that great. Its whole effects are very subpar. You know, you go into the other, you go into one Gaimon, it lets you do some stuff, then you can go into the other Gaimon, which then will give you the Digivolve and Blitz. I believe you pop a 13k or more body when you Digivolve into the new Gaimon.
Yeah.
And then you can then Digivolve into a Digimon with Gaimon in its name. So you go into the old one, you can then Digivolve somewhere, and then you can swing with Blitz for 2 checks. So your whole aim is to pop some. Yeah, you basically high roll a large pop and then get some checks. But the problem is it's that 13k threshold. So if you're playing any sort of low to the ground decks, you're not popping anything, but you do get to trash a security if I remember rightly. If you don't pop something. I think I'm right. I'm 100% right. I know I'm right. So you will get a trash if you don't pop, and then you get 2 checks from the old guy on there. So you can play this one into quite an aggressive style of deck, realistically. You know, playing into security Greymons, things like that. Just playing you just for protection. Just really looking to take out the whole security stack in one go. And then, I mean, obviously you can't, if you're using the Blitz, you can't Omni for game, but you can put your opponent in a very bad state. But where does it stand? I want to say low tier 2, because it's a Greymon archetype, you know, because you can still run all of the good stuff that Greymon has to help the deck be consistent. Cool Boys, Taikimiyas, Yuyas.
The thing is, like, if you want to, it's probably like talking about like Gaimon probably memes, if I'm being perfectly honest.
I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that. Meme it is. I'm gonna go on that agreement. I mean, I know the deck lacks something. I mean, its effect for the Gaimon and the option you get for it is pretty damn tragic.
Yeah, like especially because it's the fact that, like, again, it's like more just like go tall than go wide. So it's like, yes, I'm just gonna keep my big thing. And
yeah,
they both just live.
Yeah,
They've effectively done nothing here.
Exactly. It's just it's a little bit tragic. So the option's not great. So I'd agree. I mean, I do think a bit of fine tuning, a bit of play time on the deck, it can do well. I guess the reason I'd say if it was to ever be a contention for a tier 2 or Rogue, the problem is for it that Wargrey does what it's doing but better, and Black Wargrey X does what is doing but better. And you're never going to opt to put this guy, the new Gaimon in, let's say for example a a Black Wargrey X build. I don't think, because I don't think.
Yeah, you just more prefer to go with the other one because then you're just taking up more slots. But...
Exactly. I don't think this new one's considered as Black Wargrey, is it?
No, it's just counted.
Yeah. So and that again, it's just there.
Like the other Gaimon.
It's already there. It's just nullified itself from being ever considered into the other Greymon deck. So unfortunately, yeah, I'll agree with you. Meme level. I mean, there's 2 decks of mine. They're in a rogue and meme slots. This is not good. This is not good. Roll on BT13. I'm joking. The last few things here we'll kind of just blitz through. Mastodon tier 1, 2, or rogue. Tier 2.
Probably.
Yeah. Examon, a good deck if it goes off, but again has the problem of consistency. I'd say high tier 2, because you can out control some deck quite easy with it. Bloom Lord, they got the restrictions and that, but I still think they're a stronger deck, especially with the Quartzman and that. 1 or 2.
Yeah, probably 1.
Yeah, I think it's definitely up there because it can pop off. And there's been some good results in the most recent events. Ifania, I think, is just basically a sit there alongside Master because they are one and the same realistically. You can just choose to play more into the Ifania deck and like tech 1 or 2 Masters on the sideline. This is a sad one. D Brigade. I'm just gonna go Rogue. I mean, the deck does what the deck wants. The deck needs to do, but I just see very little, people playing the deck anymore. Like it's completely dropped out. I don't think I've come across it in any sort of locals, or seen it in a top cut anywhere in a while. I don't know about you, Roy.
I've seen it once on locals about it.
Oh, that's so. This one did receive support going into this set. DarkKnight one.
Get worried for a second. I was like, it's like 4 different archetypes we haven't talked about that got support.
Yeah, so as I mean, I'm now getting to those points here. So I think I have a couple of them. So DarkKnight, first of all, that one has support. It now mixes into a somewhat of a blue flare DarkKnight thing, as well as its own. It has a new DarkKnight one itself, but I don't know if that is more relevant to the combination of the 2 decks rather than just a standalone DarkKnight.
It's kind of like hitting both points. It gains benefits if you like. It basically just references both Blue Flare and Twilight in a lot of its cards, and then the boss monster is just kind of universally shared between them.
Right. Do you think we're going to see more play going into it? I mean, it did see a surge of play to deal with. I think it was Biel's. A lot of people went through the whole thing. It was a good deck to deal with that because if anything gets pops, you then play out more things than their blockers, and so on and so forth. Say tier 2.
Yeah, probably sense.
I think it's definitely a little bit more up there than the likes of Gallantmon and Armor Rush and that. Not quite to the standpoint of, let's say, ShineGreymon, All Force, and Examon.
Yeah.
Blue Flare. Now.
Oh boy, we get to talk about Blue Flare.
Yeah, you can go on this one because I just like beating Blue Flare. I don't like the deck. The deck annoys me.
This is shockingly tier 1. the support it gets in this set is actually pretty good.
Give me an idea here. What have we got tier 1 wise support that's coming out for this deck? I mean, this is
you get a new Greymon and a male Bergerer with that have actually really insane inherits.
Okay.
Greymon is one attacking, draw a card, and male Bergerer is jamming.
Okay, jamming on the Metal Grey, which means that as long as you get 2 things on board, you're getting double poke with no risk anymore. Because that was part of the big problem for Blue Flare. As soon as you lost the stack, it was you had to try and re-establish one all over again, which wasn't difficult, but if you didn't have the piece, you were generally screwed, and you had to play down a Male Bird to fetch back the Metal Grey.
You get a new egg that's for the deck, where it pairs with the Gaussmon with the old Gaussmon, where you just want to chuck it in. It's on deletion, draw 1.
Okay.
The new Gaussmon is another card. Is more card draw engines when you play Digimon with Blue Flare in their trades. And then there's a new dual tamer that does really well.
Okay, so are we going towards the high end of tier 1, mid tier 1? Do you think this is only one of the most represented decks going into the format?
I'd probably say like low, like the middle-ish of tier 1. It's definitely like going to be a high represented deck, but that does really well.
Well, I mean, so for those that are in my team, Legion, I guess they're going to be happy. There are a couple of people in my team that like to call themselves the Blue Flare Boys. Yes, I know it sounds like an absolute reject boy band.
Oh yeah, another thing about Whiplash is the Kazuha is like the new top end. Because Kazuha lets you just bounce level 5, lets you play Blazing Memory Boost for free, and then because you use an option card, you get to play a level 4 from the trade, so you just play something like Melbertramon or like Greymon and activate their on-play effect.
Alright, so I guess what
Stuff.
what you're telling me is I'm gonna require some Blue Flare testing throughout next set.
Yeah, Blue Flare, we'll see it. More likely we see a Spike in play.
That's fine. I'll make it my thing to stomp. That's fine. Okay. We've got Venusmon, yellow hybrid, security control, whatever kind of mixture she wants to fit into. Generally, Venus just a good card, right? Easy tier 2 because her effects is just so underplayed.
Yeah, you can also Seraphim on it.
Yeah.
Or Shadow Seraphim.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, we'll put that in there.
Basically, just anything that's yellow that's super controlled, just chuck Shadow Seraphim in there.
Basically, that's the way it's looking. Cross Hearts. There's no new support for that one going to the set, is there?
No.
No.
The other two decks that we haven't talked about that get new support is Gaomon and Sakuya.
Gaimon is currently not on my list of things, and neither Sakuya. This is two we forgot. So, in place of those, let's find a space for them. They're going to be referred to as Shine Grey and Tigeru here. So, let's go through Sakuya first of all.
Sakuya gets like a lot of the stuff that it's kind of missed. Well, like a couple of things it can. Kazuha is a way to generate more stats with Sakuyamon. Obviously all the new stuff will also have on plays to combo off with the new Kazuha playing something from security.
Okay.
And it's a lot about just more stopping stuff from attacking and bouncing.
So it actually has a bit more of a battle. Obviously, after it was hit, it has actually more of a win con to it. Because as soon as the thing, shining battle, what's the guy called? What's the one that got restricted? I now can't remember the option. It's not just me. It's gone blank, is it? Shining Burst.
Shining Blast, I think. I should know which number at one point.
Sunrise Buster, that's it. Absolutely nothing that we said in any sort of contagion. Yeah, Sunrise Buster. Yeah, as soon as that got hit, the deck kind of lost that whole go into Sakuya, go into the maid mode, keep recycling.
Yeah, the deck also has a very niche OTK that it can do.
Yeah, there is that as well.
Because of the brand new Kazuha mon. It's like you Kazuha play a security attack +1, swing, take 2 security, digivolve into maid mode that plays another security attack +1 on swing. And then when you swing, you go into Sakuyamon, which unsuspends itself.
So, where does this deck fall? 1, 2, Rogue or Meme?
Probably Rogue.
Rogue?
I feel like you probably see like a couple of like Sakuyamon players that are either A, playing the OTK or playing with new control league, but like the Kazuhamon is mainly designed for it's, even though it like is a thing, it fits better into the blue flare stuff.
Okay, that's fair enough. So we'll go with Rogue for that one. And then the other one was
Mirage Galgamon.
Yeah, and there's a reason I forgot this off the list. It's because I've never ever played into Mirage Galgamon. Never had the urge to play into that deck. And I have seen a surge of it as of recently in events, even just currently, it's been played into. So what new support does it get to make it relevant?
You get more bonuses now for opponent, like adding cards to their hands. The level, the Galmon lets you gain memory. The Galmon and the Galgamon let you gain memory, and the Mirage Galgamon also unsuspends itself, so you do a couple more multi-attack stuff.
Okay. Okay.
And then a lot more of their stuff is like bouncing stuff to hand. So the level 5 lets you bounce to level 4, the level 3, 4 lets you bounce to level 3, and then the Gaimon, it's both players draw a card.
Okay. So yeah,
It's just more of the stuff that Gaimon wants to do.
it's a lot more. It sounds like a lot more tax on your opponent's side of things, so they get penalised for the more stuff they have. Because I know there's one that gains memory for if your opponent draws on a card out of their normal draw step already in the game.
Yeah.
So
Stuff.
okay, so does that place it in a tier 1 to 2, or is it still just a mean that level deck? 'Cause I beforehand it was just mean.
It probably like still keeps it there, but like I'll say this going into Mirage gets good soon.
All right, so we're likely to see an increase of people playing into the deck then with a future Spawn Horizon. So fair to say if we go Rogue alongside the Kyuuchi stuff.
You'll probably see like a couple people playing it because at the moment with like the results that we're seeing from JP side of the matter is like there's been a very high influx of Mirage Gavamon players in JP.
That's fair. That's fair. Last on list here, we'll just go over these. Jesmon, it's quite bricky, but it has got mulligans. So yeah, we'll go low tier 2 because it has got access to mulligans. Dorbitmon, probably one of the most versatile cards because you can go standalone deck, you can throw it index. It's just a very all-around good card. I'm just gonna put tier 2 because if you go Dorbit Ragnar, it's a disgusting combo. We've seen it time and time again. That's it from everything on EX4. Any honourable mentions that we haven't covered off here? You wanna bring up? Or are we good on that point, Holy?
Pretty good on that point.
Alrighty, so there you have it. There is mine and Holy's take on it. Now, just a disclaimer here before you all go to war with me in the comments. This is our opinion only. It's based on knowledge we have from the game, time we've played it. Holy has played in obviously JP side of things. Well, has knowledge from that side of things as well as played in the current thing. Hasn't been as frequent in Digimon as of lately, but with ShineGreymon at support, I guarantee you'll see more of him. I've consistently been around, so I'm going based off my input, and this is just generally how we feel it will unfold. Now, there is room for it to change because it's hard to call these things straight off the bat, but I generally think this is the kind of outline you're going to be looking into as you go through EX4. Would you agree with all that, Holy?
Yeah.
Any last statements before we go? No. Alrighty then. So from my side of things here at Gordo's Games, we're going to sign off here. Holy, thank you for joining us this evening, and as always, if you do like the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you know when this content goes live for you, and we'll catch you next time.